Okay, so as what we discussed in the previous discussion video, we have to consider now the other types of parallelogram, which includes the rectangles, the square, and the rhombus. But for this discussion video, we have to discuss about rectangle and the square. So a rectangle is essentially a parallelogram in which the interior angles are all right angles. Okay, if we look at here, your interior angles are all equal. Okay, since the rectangle is a parallelogram, all of its properties may also be applied to the rectangle. In addition to these properties, the diagonals of our rectangle, for example, in here, if we inspect, we have AD and your BC, are equal. So they are equal. However, the sides of a rectangle are not necessarily all equal. On the other hand, if we have to consider a square is just a special type of a rectangle. Kaya kung lantawan naton, rectangle man siya Japan ang itsura sa aton nga square, in which kung lantawan ta, tanan-tanan lang naton nga sides are equal. Since all of the sides ang aton nga kagang aton nga interior angles ang aton nga squares are equal, a square is classified as a regular polygon of four sides. Okay, so parehas sa aton nga previous discussion about parallelogram at even sa polygons, gina-consider natin ang aton nga mga diagonals. Okay, so diagonals ang aton nga rectangle, parehas sang sa aton man nga parallelogram, it cuts the rectangle into two congruent triangle. But this time, ang kinalain lang sa aton rectangle is that ang aton nga ma-form nga triangle is right triangle. So right triangle ang aton nga ma-form nga triangle diri. So in this figure nga ari diri subong, so the diagonal AD, so divides ang aton nga rectangle ABCD into congruent triangles. So ang una naton nga triangle is this one ACD, and we have your A B, D. So since the diagonal of the rectangle forms right triangles that include the diagonal and duwa ka sides ng ating rectangle, one can always compute for the third side. So basta may given ka duwa ka side and you have to find the other side, pwede na naton dayon ma-solve ang ating third side. So kung i-separate nato ang ating triangle, we will form a right triangle. So, wherein given, for example, ang duwa ka side, pwede ni natin makuha ang ating nga diagonal or the third side sa ating nga triangle nga na form. So, ang aton ginagamit diri ang nga formula in order for us to solve for the third side or sa aton nga diagonal is a Pythagorean Theorem if any of the two sides are given. So, if the diagonal and the length of the base are given, pwede naton kuhaon ang aton nga height or any. So, bisan ano lang diri ang given, either given ang diagonal kag base kuhaon mo ang height or bisan ano lang da. So, if we have to consider Pythagorean Theorem, so hamba sa Pythagorean Theorem, gani that is a squared plus b squared is equal to c squared. However, since lain di ang aton nga mga ginagamit nga mga variables, so islanta lang. So that is this is your diagonal, so this is your d squared. Okay, so ari na lang, so that is b squared plus h squared is equal to d squared. So b squared plus h squared is equal to d squared. Or if ever gusto mo pangitawan ng yung mga diagonal, that is equal to your square root of b squared plus h squared. So that is for the diagonal of a rectangle. Okay, so kung maghambal naman ta, for example, on the other hand, diagonal of a square ang ginapangita. The determination of the diagonal of the square is similar to the technique na ginagamit natin sa rectangle, wherein ang aton nga given is pangitaon tang diagonal, d is equal to, so b squared plus h squared square root. However, ang aton nga mga sides, base naton kag h is equal to a na kay same lang man sila Japon. That is square root of a squared plus a squared. So that is equal to square root of 2a squared. So that means ang aton nga diagonal gali for a square is equal to a square root of 2. So, a square root of 2. Okay? And take note, if for example, given ang length sang diagonal sa aton nga square, so pwede naton dayon ma-compute ang length of the sides sa aton nga square using the same nga formula. For example, given ni ang diagonal, pwede mo makuha ang side sang square. Next one, parehas ang aton nga parallelogram or even sang mga polygons naton. So, pwede mo naton i-solve ang perimeter. Again, maghambal ta perimeter, that is the distance or the sum sang tanan-tanan nga mga sides. So, busingon perimeter or the sum of the four sides sang aton nga rectangle. So, this is your perimeter is equal to duha ka base plus height. So, 2b plus 2h. Then, para naman sa aton nga perimeter sa aton nga square, since all the sides ng aton nga squares are equal, it is also possible to provide a simple formula for the perimeter sa aton nga square. Thus, the simplified form of a perimeter is, so, apat lang ka side or 4a lang. Wherein ang aton nga a is the length sa aton nga one side of the square. Okay, so another one is, nga pwede ipasolve sa aton is the area of your square or rectangle. So, area of a rectangle, ang formula natin nga ginagamit for area of a rectangle, so we are aware of this already, A is equal to BH. Base times height lang, or length times width lang for your rectangle. Okay, so for the area of the square naman, parehas man lang na Japon, that is base times height, pero ang imo lang galing nga base kag height equal sila nga duha. So, kung consider natin ang aton nga representation sa dalom, aton area, or sa babaw, I mean, area of your square will be equal to a squared, wherein ang a naton is the length sang one side of the square. Okay, these are the formula, an important concept if we talk about the rectangle and the square. Okay, for the next discussion video, we have to consider the different formulas for the rhombus, trapezoid, and trapezium. Okay, thank you, stay safe, God bless.